Hi everyone. I think this is started, right? So yeah, hi everyone. Once again, welcome back to yet another episode of Tech Talks. And today we are sitting down with Vikas Anand. He's senior director of engineering, and what we would be touching upon today is one of those topics which everybody is kind of talking about in one context or another, and that is architecture. And today we would be going over with Vikas over how to find the right steps for architecture with context of fintech in place. Uh, and essentially speaking, fintech is one of those things which are doing thousands of transactions, millions of data points, and trying to disburse various aspects of financial freedom for anyone. Where Vikas over here is coming from the backdrop of lending platforms, and he has been using various services, and he has had a great experience in building a modern fintech infrastructure for this time and age. So, welcome, Vikas. Thanks a lot for taking out time for Dev Bytes and uh, helping our developers learn a lot more in depth about how to take or how to think about tech architectures.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you for providing this opportunity to talk with the developers and sharing my knowledge to them so that they can get the benefit out of it. And I also welcome all the developers on this channel, uh, which is a great channel to share the knowledge, whatever we are getting, and make it available for others so that they can excel in their career and get things or architectures rightly developed, because it is a very basic requirement that if your architecture is not correct for the for that particular system, then things will go haywire in very less time whenever you reach to the client's domain and you deliver some product.
So that's a very fantastic way to identify the real pain point. So before we dive into the core discussion, first let us introduce who is Vikas Anand from by you yourself, so that everybody understands and is up to speed.
Yeah, so as Ramesh introduced, I am from fintech industry, but I will just elaborate somewhat more. So I am working as a senior director of engineering right now in UB. It's YUBI. Somebody tells it UB, so I just wanted to spell it out. And it is a fintech company in lending domain. So what we are building a digital platform for the life cycle of lending management. So but our company does not lend, and that is the main thing, because we are the tech company which is providing the complete infrastructure platform where lenders and borrowers, they don't have to worry about the inner layer, or you can say the underlying platform where the business is happening, and they can go there, get that lending related thing done smoothly with the scale and all. I have done my graduation, post graduation from IIT Kharagpur 20 years back, and I have been working in many companies. I have run my own company for 6 years, where I have worked with several big companies, startup companies, all these many big names I have worked with and architected their system. One of the biggest system Previous to that, I built for Apollo Munich, which is mhi.in, their customer portal. At that time, also that scale was also huge. And then I built systems in Metal as a vendor. So there, for coding platform, you might be seeing there is a Metal platform which provides you online examination system. So the coding platform, the scale and everything we have managed and delivered. And right now I'm working with UB, uh, and delivered the underlying platform where all these lenders and borrowers are doing their business in different ways. So that is brief about that. We will get into the architecture and discussion about how it has been built, what are the technologies we have used, why we have used, and then so on we will go as Ramesh will guide us. Yeah.
I mean, I'll help facilitate the discussion. But great. So because basically you have had a lot of experience from various domains, so to speak. Because whenever we are talking about life cycle of a developer, we would always say that okay, I have worked as a developer in this and this industry. Now, oftentimes we get a chance to see different industries, different domains. Uh, what has been your core takeaway by switching to different domains and developing in different domains? If we will say like the most important thing that stands out to you,
So one of the thing which is core of any domain is you have to develop the software, right?
right?
And that means you have to understand the problem statement at that time and then translate it into the language which computer can understand. Okay. And computer is very generous. It doesn't care about domain. Okay. It cares about what you tell the computer in the software language which it understands. So domain is not a barrier for any developer to be in. So because you can always understand the domain, go into depth whenever you join a new company or go there. But if your basics are clear, that what you need to do to develop a great software, that is applicable throughout all the domains. They have similar principle to be followed in each and every company.
Right, exactly. Totally concur with you there. Essentially, you need to know your basics in a certain sense. You need to know your pillars of development, and doesn't matter which domain you go to. So, so with that, like, if if we take that as a given, so what like how would you think about designing? So essentially, whenever any developer reaches into their in a middle stage, like they are somewhat experienced, so they start chasing these questions about defining architecture, whether for a feature or a small side project or small service. So, how should you be designing a flexible architecture that kind of supports yeah, I mean, to begin with, how should you really be approaching to design a flexible architecture? And second thing is, of course, given the context of loan products that we have, so what all different things one should start looking at in a generic sense, so to speak?
Yeah. So in software architecture, one size doesn't fit all. Okay. So why, I will just explain here. So let's say if you are going into the lending domain, right, or fintech in a broader sense. So one, you need to first understand what is the data you are going to interact with. First, you have to identify the data, divide the data in the groups. What are the which data are closer to each other, how you will be saving that data in a way that you don't have to go from here to there, or travel a long distance to find a similar data of that. So I can give you the example, because if you understand the data well, if you categorize them in certain groups, create the schema which is a correct schema, or very much near to what is required, then you will not be having much problem. Okay,
Right.
this is a generic statement, by the way, but I
Right.
will give you in a sense of lending, right?
Mhm.
So in the lending, what happens whenever you apply, right? That is called an application. And when the application gets approved and you get the loan disbursed, that is called the loan. So what is the difference between application and loan in our term? Applications data, it's a lead type of data. So it is the platform's data. We are having the control over that. We can use it for our purpose. We can give it to multiple lenders to get their consent that, okay, whether you are going to give the loan or not. But once the loan is given to a customer, that data belongs to that particular lender. And no lender will want to share this data to multiple to other lenders, because there are like reschedule related payment reschedules, right? The disbursement related data, EMI changing data, interest getting changed, all those sort of data. And then there will be a multiple KYCs which might be involved. If it is a home loan which is partially disbursed, then there will be a frequency how it will be disbursed. So there will be so many data which you will be only connecting with the corresponding lender. So there is a LOS, loan originating system, and there is a LMS, which is called loan management system. Now, if you don't design it correctly, then there will be a big problem of separation of data. Okay,
Right.
so you have to have a great partitioning logic from the beginning, that when this data will be available to lender, that partition should be very much clear. So you have to have a partitioning related ID.
Right.
Second thing, in this domain, data need to be very safe. Okay, how will you make it safer? How will you make it just available for that particular bank? So there will be a concept of encryption by lenders, by the key of the lender. Then you have
Right.
to design the DB partitioning and separation, so that you can design the DB in a way that you can apply encryption based on the lender. That is that is one of the thing which differentiates it from other databases whenever we are talking about in fintech and other type of industries where it doesn't happen, right? So this is, you have to create the domain correctly, have the partition correctly, the data which is very much nearer to all those things. Like let's say everybody knows that user details and application details and lots of documentations which you need to submit. That all has to be there, but it has to be in a way that you can pick those type of data identifiable with a particular ID, so that you can get that data transferred for the lender based database. In that way you have to design the data, right?
Right. So essentially, it starts becoming a very complex problem, so to speak, right? And whenever we are talking about such a complex problem, how would a person be able to design or define an architecture so that they are able to add complexity to it in future rather than being able to think all the varying degrees or the depth of complexity at the beginning.
Yeah, so you need to divide the problem in two parts. One, just first check what is the overall thing you want to achieve. The things whatever I told, that there will be multiple lenders, right? They
Right.
have their own security related thing. There will be multiple borrowers. Those type of things are high level, right?
Right.
So at least you have the a structure that, okay, our database schemas will be partitioned and this that, that's the high level. Second level, you told that there will be lots of fields, lots of objects involved. Now this loan has a life cycle. Okay, so whenever you are working with a particular lending platform system, it will every aspect of it, like every loan or every application will go through a particular life cycle. So if you have the definition that what are the stages the loan will go forward, right, then you can design your data or database schema based on the stages, and then you can keep adding new database schema or data related to the next stage, right? So if you are having an application, okay, first you might have to design for the basic details of the application, like let's say KYC related details. Then you will understand that okay, the person is a genuine person and they need this much loan. Then you will move forward and check the financials, then you will check the collaterals. So you keep on adding all these aspects to it and resolve something on the fly by refactoring the database if something is not matching there, because you can't do everything at once. So if you have divided it the whole life cycle in stages, which is like an stage only, then you will be keep on adding the data related schema, right, as per the stage. And if there is some refactoring required, then you can apply that refactoring based on the complexity of that particular stage.
Exactly. So let me kind of shift the gear a little bit. Um, when we are talking such a complex architecture, I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of microservices involved in such a thing. So, what strategies do you think one can take so that we can access the relevant data? Because at the end of the day, the application in context of a loan management system or as well as lending domain, the entire application is heavily driven by schema definition in a certain sense. How are you looking at your data sets? Is what I can grasp from this. So, when you're dealing with such a complicated data structure, um wherein there is even partitioning required just to share data, how would one be thinking? One should be thinking about microservices
Yeah,
from day one, in a certain sense. Yeah.
correct. So the way we have designed the data, right, the data domain or database schema, right, in microservices you can always follow one database schema for a particular database, for a particular microservice, okay. But I will just elaborate somewhat more. So if you have you now you have some stages, because the life cycles is getting followed in a particular loan processing, right? So if you remember previously, there was a very good design pattern MBC, where we actually divided the whole processing thing. Whenever a data comes to our system, and then how we will process, where there will be a view, how it will get accessed from the DB. Same thing if you apply at a larger level, okay. If we have the databases designed as per the stages which we discussed, and if data are uh, kept at a very closed places where it is required, you can build microservices on top of that first to access the data, okay, in a faster way. If you know that for this particular stage we need these data, we can have dedicated microservices just to access those data, so
Right.
that you can have read and write very fast. This will be a
Right.
transactional related database, okay. Once this is designed, right, you will always have a view related, or the dashboard related, where you can manage the life cycle or see what stage it is in, what are the data in collective way you have
Right.
received. So there are two parts here. One is the transaction related data, right? That will be in the microservices per microservices databases, and there will be a view related data where you will consolidate all this data based on what type of client you are serving. Let's say you are serving a LOS type of client, you are serving LMS type of client, right? Or you are serving some just for the life cycle you want to show, right? Based on that, you can have a view on top of these databases. Now, to create that view, there might be GraphQL, there might be some CDC pipeline you can create, and there is a elastic search or different type of open search or different type of search mechanism you can put to create a view on top of that. Or you can apply AI and all to create a good dashboard on top of that, because it is very much needed that customers should be capable to view the exact state where it is, either the RM or the customer if it is customer facing, right? Because they need to know where it is so that they can
Exactly.
act on that.
So, so I kind of come to two sort of questions after this. One is, of course, when we are talking about so many transactions within within your data layer, how do you kind of decide what kind of data layer should it be? Should it be a data warehouse, data lake, or should it be your own clusters, self-managed clusters? How can one think about such questions, so to speak?
So you see, normally these transactional databases, I don't think that is the data lake, or these things will be for transactional databases. It will be for collecting all the data and putting there for analytic processes or creating a dashboard and all. But for the transaction layer, there are two types of databases we can always use. One is the SQL based, which is very good for transactional. If you are having a small data, if you are having separate databases for separate microservices, SQL works well. But nowadays the complexity is higher. I told you the complexity partitioning based on lender,
Right.
having a encryption based on the lender's key, right? So there are so much complexities in that, so you have to evolve from that. So we actually went into that discussion. We created there is a very good system called traffic light analysis of the softwares. So you
Right.
can create a traffic light document related to, let's say, Postgres and let's say cockroach db. Okay, you can compare that, okay, these are the things I can get out of the box. Let's say you have in cockroach db partitioning out of the box, you can support different reasons, like if the people the person says that I need this data in this particular reason, you can also have a reason based databases, right? And it is a horizontal scalable, where uh, postgres is normally it is vertical scalable. So based on these criteria, normally we have been more you can say inclined towards cockroach db type of distributed databases.
Right.
So this will help you to analyze through traffic light analysis based on your requirement, so and what is the scale you are looking at. Okay.
So the other part of the question I had was like when we are talking about so many different kinds of customers for a platform, because of course, first broad category is the lead generation platform vis-a-vis the loan management platform, right? And then again, in each of those platforms, there are again different kinds of customers required, so to speak. Like there is an RM, there is a GM, or there are call center requirements. So when you are thinking about such a distributed requirement set, uh, it becomes a lot difficult to kind of define a PRD for everybody for all the very many different aspects. So, how do you really tackle that kind of a challenge at the time of planning itself, or at the time of architecture definition itself, or is it probably not required to do that, and one something that can be taken on as you go in future?
Yeah, so very valid question, because the clients are means users. I will take it as like users interacting with the system. Those are of different type, right?
Right.
And there are internal users, there are external users, right? Okay, so
Exactly.
if we divide that in these groups, right? So whoever is going to decide that, okay, this particular group wants these data, right? So one great advantage of having these microservices, that if you are have designed the microservices at the repository layer and you are providing the data through microservices, you can put the different type of microservice which will collate three or four data extraction related microservices and provide a view to the corresponding user. Okay, so we have built the system in that way, that okay, which user you want to display. Okay, this is a particular microservice which will be serving this group of users, let's say from the borrower side, or this group of user will be served by this microservice, which is actually aggregation of the microservices which are needed for them. Let's say for internal users, it might be that you need all the data to be visible, but it might be for CRM, let's say our CRM team, it might not be all the data you might not require, right? And you might not require at the same time. You might go into drill down and all, and then you get the data. So when we are designing that system, we need to see that which type of interaction which is going to happen, whether
Okay.
this interaction is going to be transactional or whether it is just a view and following the system, following the stages and all, and raise the query. So the users will get the view, and then use and then internal people will have the transactional database related thing, right? So it will depend on that also. Okay. Yeah.
So, okay, so now I'll again shift a little bit of gears. Whenever we are talking such a complex system, there is also, uh, you know, there's also this requirement that you need to be available everywhere, right? As in for everyone, and essentially speaking, you also have to keep your costs down,
Yeah.
uh, and all of that kind of pushes you in a sort of uh, multi-cloud strategy, and figuring out what are the things that you should be uh, thinking about for maintaining the cost, right? So, in a certain sense, like, first of all, is that even a valid question, that would you require a multi-cloud strategy or not? Uh, and how do you measure the complexity versus ROI, essentially,
Yeah.
the ROI of complexity?
Also, I will just add one more complexity there. So it is not just multi-cloud, it will be also on-prem. So let's solve all three. Okay.
Let me also add one more small thing there.
Yeah.
It's not just multi-cloud; it's probably also distributed cloud requirement as well, with advent of AI and all.
Correct. Okay. So if you see here, the requirement is very much valid. Okay. There are almost all PSUs. They have their own either their own cloud, or they have their own on-prem structure which is very secure, and accessing that will be a nightmare. Okay. Now if I have created a solution which is very much tied up with AWS, I will be stuck forever and we will not be able to serve those type of clients. And those are the one of the biggest client of our fintech. Okay. So from the beginning, our strategy is cloud native first. Okay. So there are two terms, cloud native and cloud neutral. Okay. So we have to be cloud native so that at least our systems are not like that. It can go on cloud. Okay. That won't be there at all. So first principle is be cloud native. Second principle is be cloud neutral. Okay. What do we mean by cloud neutral? Because cloud neutral will give you this edge that you can be on multiple cloud. You can use any other thing also, because you don't care where your application is going to be, stored,
Deployed.
deployed, right? So how you will make it cloud neutral? So if you see with this evolution of the technologies, all these infrastructure related management are getting done by open source technologies too. If you get a service from AWS, let's say container management system, right, which is a hot topic right now, how to deploy your microservices, because you can't go for EC2 or scaling and all, because that will be much more costly, and managing that might not be easy. And EC2 is a construct of AWS, and when you move to GCP, it will be a problem, right? I will also come why multi-cloud also, but I will just first cover cloud neutrality. So how will you convert it to cloud neutrality? You don't go for anything specific to that particular cloud. You create your own, Kubernetes type of infrastructure. Okay.
Right.
And add all those open source related, open source provided, softwares to manage that. Let's say Rancher to manage the cost AI, manage this infrastructure Rancher, and manage it through the, let's say, Jenkins, to deploy and manage everything, CI/CD pipeline and all. If you keep these certain basic principles in your while you are architecting, then this problem won't occur. And in fintech, I can't say that very small player, one person per people can serve these type of things. It will be a small team and some budget will be there. And if you have the talent and skill, you will find that these are the cost effective way to do that, or also. So whenever you see that EC2 versus Kubernetes, if you think, right, it might look like a complex thing, but in month or so only you will have this idea that this is better than that, and it will be serving the futuristic purposes too. So be always sure with that. Okay. uh, Apart from that, if I talk about the multi-cloud thing, why multi-cloud can happen? Because might be that bank wants that my system, I don't want on-prem, but my system should be under my control, under my cloud. Okay. And if they are using GCP, or they have a long-term commitment with, let's say, Microsoft Azure, right? And if you say I'm not giving that, you are losing a lender, right, which is the big enabler in the lending processing management system. So
Right.
you can't do that. So it is not like you have to think afterwards. You have to think from the beginning, because you have to know that which type of customer you are going to serve. Because if you don't understand the customer, you can't do the business, right?
Right. So
At least
essentially, it starts becoming a very, very tech, instead of tech enabled, it's a tech led
tech.
product in a sentence.
Correct. Because it is a fintech, right? And you need to always be with the customer. You can't push a big customer, right? That, okay, please do this or that, because RBI will also come into picture, right? They also have to do, and they would have worked a lot to be compliant. It is very
Exactly.
difficult for them to, move from here to there. So if you are giving the service, you are the one who has to adopt, because you are the new one, right? Make the things like that only. And one thing I missed, the AI part and Gen AI part and everything. Right now, everybody is figuring out. how Gen AI will come into picture. AI is very, very now.
AI is quite has been there since at least 10 to 14 years.
So there is no, reason why you should not use AI. AI is getting used a lot because they also need many data. Like they need that why customer has gone away, why customer has done the defaulting, whether you can provide us the early warning. There are so many. Fraud is the one thing which is very, very easy to be there in the lending system, correct?
Right.
So that's the core requirement. So for AI, we can't say that it is not there. It is there for both analytics purposes, for fraud management, for different types of alerting system, for different types of, you can say, lead generation system, because you can think of that this person can do an upsell, this person can be considered for cross sell, right? But this scale, if you do by hand, you might have to put hundreds of people to
People, so
understand
that's
the
why you
behavior.
go for scale.
So there is no question about that, correct?
Right.
Now coming to Gen AI, Gen AI has a very special cases where you can understand the trend, okay? And we have used it. Our one of the product is Gen AI based product where we provide the details about the companies, okay? Through corpository, okay? We provide the details about the company in summary with in 10 sections, okay? And in that 10 sections, bank can understand that they should be considering this company for the loan or not.
Right.
Okay, that's so concise that with that summary, because for a company you will get like 20 years of data, and to crunch that data, understand that data, financial, GST, ITR, EPF, BSc, NSE data, then ratings, news, director related data, how they have moved here and there, litigations and everything. It's a nightmare.
Right.
So for credit underwriting, Gen AI is going to be a game changer. And all the
That's
companies I know in the lending system, they already have started working on Gen AI based CAP generation. And for smaller use cases, they have launched also,
right.
where
That
there is
that has actually started becoming the need of the hour as well. It's after a quite long amount of time that the context in natural language is properly extracted.
correct, because previously it was not there. We
Right.
AI was just giving you the analytics, right? And then you need to figure out, or it will provide you a dashboard will provide you lots of data in a structured format, right? But you
Absolutely.
needed to dig into and understand that and provide the trend, right? Somewhat AI was giving that thing that okay, this person has done like this, trend has gone from here to there, this that, but in a crude way, right? You are a non-techie person, let's say, you want to understand how where this company is. Like nowadays, you normally want somebody tells that please in this share, whether in this share market, which share will go up, right? You
Right.
just want to know that. Other,
Exactly. I don't care about what are the metrics, what are the
right? For a
what
non.
how the candlestick is moving along.
Correct. So if you see the credit underwriters, they want their work to be smaller, not bigger. And with the extent of the data is so huge. They take now days to crunch the data and find out that this company or person is really going to pay that or not. Right. That is
Right.
one of the thing. Second thing I will tell you while we were discussing our GenAI use case, one thing is in collections. We are using that. So there is a very good product from Spocto, which is a company in the UV group. Why we have to call the people to remind that, right? That okay, your EMI is due or going to be deducted on this day. Please keep the money in your
Right.
thing, right? And it has to be done in, like, let's say 30, 40, 50 languages, because that is another thing, right?
Right.
If you want to serve whole country, you can think of how many types of people, how many language learned people you need to put to remind them, because might be they don't care about the SMS or email, or they are not that versed with the email, let's say, right? Only SMS is the thing. And if they miss that, and 80% or 50% or might be 70%, I think, I don't remember the exact number. If you remind them now, they will pay.
Absolutely, because most of the times enough work is done that people intend to pay,
Pay.
but are unable to pay because forgot the message, forgot the date.
You don't believe, means I am computer savvy and check email every day. In
Right,
3 years, I also miss one of the message from Kotak Life Insurance that okay, this was yearly, thing. In this, from this bank account, it was going to be deducted, right?
right,
But
right,
if 2 times, 3 times I saw the message because I am versed with message, then I might be able to keep the amount or something like that. I will do something to get that.
exactly,
Right? So in that case, voice agent is game changer. You don't
exactly,
have to put lots of people. It will call in that language, and it will answer or extract the data from their natural language processing part, right? What
right,
they wanted to say, whether they will pay or they will not pay, or they will pay after 2 days, after 3 days, or something like that. And
right,
if you put a particular process to extract that and take a necessary action on top of that.
exactly. And then it will also be able to kind of do a semantic analysis in certain senses. Will
Correct.
the
And
things
then
that
it will help in future for their credit related aspect, because you can't reduce their credit thing, right? Credit score or something. They might have told something, right? You couldn't understand or they didn't understand, right? Then
right,
that is one of the things. So Gen AI is getting used a lot here in our company. Like it's the 150 plus people are working in the Gen AI part or AI part altogether.
right. So now let's take a couple of user questions because so one of the viewers is asking like which infra trend do you think is overrated? Which infra trend you feel is overrated nowadays?
So,
Uh,
so I will tell you in the context. So normally, whenever this microservice comes into picture, right? This is also one of the overrated thing. Okay, everybody wants to create some microservices being a small company. What I told you in terms of the lending business, because it's a complex one. There are lots of data, there are lots of parameters, and different types of people who interact with this system. It will be difficult to manage through one service, but there are many services which you don't need to break unnecessarily.
exactly.
Okay,
Understanding the monolith versus microservices.
microservice, right? So like normally what people will always ask, they will go to system design interview, they will check that there always it will be that okay, there are lots of millions of data, millions of user, billions of data, millions of user. Okay, now design that system. They will try to make all the other systems also, with the microservices by dividing user and user details into microservices. Okay, I
Right.
told why you divide this user and user details into microservices. Like, what is the benefit? You tell me first, right? And do you
Exactly.
have the scale? Do you have the money to manage that, right?
Exactly.
So it depends on the domain and what you are actually doing. Now, let's say if you want to create a chat GPT type thing, right? There are lots of people are creating specific GPTs, right?
Right.
Like chat PRD, UI wizard, there are so many things. If they start following like from the beginning itself, I will create a Microsoft based structure, they will not be able to build any system at all. Okay, plus they have to bear the cost of the Gen AI also, like the whole LLM model. So I will tell start with the basic services. When it is getting complex, okay, then you start dividing it into the microservices. But how will you divide it in microservices until unless you have not followed the basic principles of how you code? You, if you code everything at one place, then things are gone. You have to have the modular approach in that. That if you have to refactor it into the multiple microservices, you should be able to do afterwards.
Right. Right. So So one other question, because we kind of talked about microservices, is whenever you are building out microservices, there is another aspect which is like how do you manage your microservices in that sense that now there are too many different microservices going around, and there would be something failing, there would be a requirement of observability across the services, and then building all of that will start becoming more and more complex and complicated because uh, how to have that visibility, what is failing and what is not. So while the easier approach to decide architecturally whether or not to move to microservices is how much complexity do you need and what is your scale at the beginning and how will it grow. The other aspect is if the answer to all of that is right, true, the question becomes how would you manage the technical debt uh, of having more and more microservices or migrating from monoliths to microservices.
Right. So you say microservices is if you have created, you can't manage on your own. Okay. So the CI/CD pipeline and the build management system, on top of that, monitoring and observability. That is the core thing you should deploy from the day one. If the
Right.
microservices you have created, it has like let's say more than 20 or something. Otherwise, you will keep on managing that, and 20% of the time you will be building and deploying other systems and understanding that okay, from this data has gone from here to there or not. Okay, in a correct format. So the need of the hour would be that before moving to microservices, you create your build pipeline also, and monitoring and observability you need to handle much more accurately. Now, how will you handle that? So you nowadays with the, let's say if you are managing through Kubernetes and all, you can't manage it by your hand also. Okay, you should go for some tools. Okay, it might be open source or it might be proprietary depending on what is your budget. Like let's say Prometheus, Grafana, ELK stack, or you can move forward to use New Relic, Kfuse, and there are other modes. But depending on what is your budget, because if you have what we I can tell you from our experience, we started using New Relic, but it is going to give you nightmare when your number of services increases from 500 plus or deployments are there. So each and every person adding to that New Relic thing, you will have to pay something more, right? So you have to understand that what is the pricing strategy for that also, right? And after which limit you should move to some other tools. Now, monitoring and observability, when you understand that monitoring is giving you the basic stuff like what is the status right now, or what are the things like the CPU, memory, different types of matrices you are getting, the logs and all is visible. Observability will give you the idea where the system is failing in whole broader context. So you
Right.
should consider in microservices observability first, and it will cover your monitoring because it is dependent on that, right?
Right.
Okay, so don't consider monitoring only. Previously, when you were deploying on EC2 and all 10, 15 years back, in fact, we were monitoring just CPU, memory, took the decision, some graphs and all, and after that, it was done. But when the number of microservices gets started like to be hundreds, right? You won't be able to do just by monitoring and all, put in people there who will monitor and all. So you have to do it in a automated manner so
Right.
that you can get the anomalies from there, add some alerts to that, see that from the business context where the whole pipeline was, where the not pipeline, the data flow, where it got broken, due to which it got broken. Plus, what are the extra aspect you have taken that the user experience doesn't get into trouble. Okay, like there are different types of things you circuit breaker. You can have a reliability platform where you are managing the life cycle of, like in terms of loan. If your loan life cycle is getting managed by a resilient system, okay, retry, and then failure management, right?
Exactly.
So mix of that particular software which is managing your workflow, like let's say we have a very good workflow management system, which is temporal, right?
Right.
Along with Neuralink, you will get that resiliency also covered, and then you will get the observability also covered. But if it is costly, you can move to other options by doing that traffic light related analysis, and choose for yours. So it is tough to go from one tool to another again
Right.
and again, because it is a waste of time also. But
Exactly.
yes, automation is must, automatic alert system is must, observability is must, and then if you are able to take a decision on top of that, that would be a great thing to do. Because if it is self-healing, right, based on
Exactly.
automatically and all, then you will be able to get that managed very well.
Exactly. Essentially, it starts pushing you towards the direction from being reactive to becoming proactive in a certain sense,
Correct.
because you have already started thinking about observability from day one. So great. So a quick question from Mehak is like, how do you kind of see Gen AI reshaping the backend engineering workflows? Because we were talking about CI/CD pipelines and workflows. I guess, what do you think? How, I mean, Gen AI would help the engineering workflows, so to speak. And
Yeah,
I also remember our earlier conversation about the small little practices you are doing with respect to Gen AI at your workplace with your team. So probably we can touch upon that also within this question.
correct. So if I look Gen AI, I look from two perspectives. Okay, one is how it is helping you to increase your productivity by chatting with the, let's say, chat gpt, or having an integrated ide like windsurf, cursor ai, and all these things where you have the everything in your ide itself, and you just talk with that, or chat with that, get the things done, and then get it tested, right? So that is one part to increase the productivity. Second part is gen ai based workflow. Like if in that architecture, if somewhere I can put Gen AI and get the things done through that, like agentic AI. If you are doing something, if agents are there which is autonomous, which can decide on its own that which path it should follow, right? Then it would be great, and then it will be self-healing also. Then engineer don't have to do anything. Okay, that line you can cross, but engineer will have to do something. Okay, so we always take these two parts. So we have a separation that, okay, productivity related thing, it's a different aspect. You should always get this done right now through Gen AI, because nowadays the complexity of the system and the workload is so much. Everybody was waiting for something which is there to help them to increase their work productivity. Okay, because nowadays each person is handling like three, four, five systems. Okay, and they won't be knowing each and every, or they might not be remembering each and every aspect of the code, and they might miss the something, right? And then you will be in trouble. Okay, so you don't want to introduce some regression bugs, and it goes to qa, come back to you, and you get your face in shame and all, right? And then it will also have a complete cycle which needs to be covered. It will go to qa and come back to you, so like lots of time is getting wasted there. So with the gen ai, in that productivity, it will always help you. I have used it a lot, and it has helped a lot right now, okay, as a companion,
Exactly.
right? It's
And in a way, it has also started making TDD approach to development a lot
a lot easier.
easier. And that
Only
way.
caution I will say, that you should be software engineer too while you are using this. Okay, it is a tool right now. It is not the software engineer right now. Okay, it might be software engineer in 1 2 years. Okay,
Future,
yeah.
right?
Right now it
Exactly.
is. Okay? It is your
This
company.
is a tool as of now. It's not a software engineer for you.
Right. So use it. It will be a great helper, like a mentor. It will tell you that, oh, you have written this function in this way. This is bad. Please rewrite in this way or create the test cases. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. You have missed this. If you provide the, in fact, PRD to it or a TTT to it, it will tell you that, okay, you have missed this point and all. It will be a great helper to you, and you will have a fun doing coding, and you won't get into trouble afterwards. That's a great thing. Second thing is the Gen AI insertion into the workflow. It is still getting, evolved. There are people who are coming with lots of different types of libraries, which will enable in future very soon. Okay, but you decide what is the deterministic thing or and non-deterministic thing. We have used the Gen AI for non-deterministic things where natural languages are there, the call has to be made, all those different types of things, and we are also considering it into creating agents which can do something on its own, where we know that, okay, here it is little tricky. We also don't know that, what is going to be the output, right? And we want to,
Right.
have the agent to decide based on whatever the, because previously in computer engineering it is always if else, right? If it hit, if this is the case, then do this is the case, then do that, right? But some, it doesn't
Exactly.
have its own mind that, okay, I am searching for a hotel in Kolkata, right? And I searched for 5 star. Might be the price is little high from my budget, right? I will start looking for 4 star. Then I have to select again, apply the filter and all. And in a way, if I tell that, okay, I need hotels in this budget from this nearer to this place, right? It should identify that whether it should be 4 star, 3 star, 5 star, and tell me back that, okay, whatever you are looking at, and it seems that your lifestyle is not, lifestyle is little higher. In this budget, you won't get that, and you might be placed in somewhere near the lake in a tent. And then it might come up and tell you that, okay, this is not the right choice, right? So many places it
Right.
has a great application, okay, where you are interacting with the system. But if you are solving a mathematical problem right now, also, we don't want to consider that, because if the loan EMI calculation is wrong, right? Either you will get benefit
Right.
or the customer will get benefit. You will get benefit, after that customer will sue you, you will get into trouble. If they will get benefit, you will be at loss, and after that you have to close the shop, right? And that is the problem with that.
Right. So I guess we have taken a lot of time from your schedule. So let's start. Go towards closing this round, and I'll probably start with a couple of rapid fire questions for you. I hope that's fine. So first question I'll ask is like, what is the one of the most underrated tool that you love in your current stack?
So if I love, that can't be underrated normally, right? But there are,
Underrated in the public perception in a certain
so one of
sense.
the tool I use, TextPad, okay, without having that formatting. Why I use? Because I copy from somewhere, right, and paste it somewhere else. Always get
Right.
that formatting removed. So I always keep that text pad with, make it a plain text, copy it there and put it there. I don't have to do that copy and paste of the, formatting thing. Okay, that is the easiest way I
Right.
do. Might be good for all, but that is the text. People have made it obsolete, but I like it very much for that particular purpose.
The
So
notepad,
yeah,
the no
basic.
fuss text editor.
Yeah.
Right, great. One must read blog or book or podcast in modern day and world that you would recommend for
So
developers?
normally I don't I get bored with the podcast because they do lots of here and there things, like we are chatting about focused thing. Might be they go here and there. So I don't love that much. It takes lots of time, but still, if you can fast forward it, then you will be there. So, but those podcasts where they are actually giving you some data, not working with that. Like I was, I don't remember who was taking that, but I was. I am great fan of one of the podcast where these all CEOs come. Okay, like the Google CEO, Microsoft CEO, all these people come and provide you the insight what they are working on, right? So
Right.
recently I heard XR Studio, which is coming in Android. Okay, XR SDK, which is coming in Android, which might be life changing because it will be a great thing to add in your application, and it lots of job can be created. So those type of podcasts where they give you the insight of the future technology, where you can think of that what you should learn more. Okay, so that be
Right. Right.
relevant in the industry. If you don't listen to that, okay, then that will be a problem for you, because you will listen it after 3 years when it will already has crossed the above level, like, and you are left behind. Okay, that is the one thing. Blog, it depends in which century you are in, right, or in which decade, because I have spent a lot of time in software. One blog cannot cover everything, right? So all the blogs which are related to the latest technology I normally want to follow. Normally I go and search for that. Medium provides you very good blogs on that. Substack also has come and provided lots of good blog in that one. Okay, and now you can also go through dev bytes, which can provide you lots of different types of content, which you can always look at the that.
That's what we hope and aspire to do for all our developers. Um, sure. So, with that, Vikas, I guess it's time where we would request you for your one piece of advice that you would give to developers who are navigating this AI-driven hyperscaling ecosystem nowadays.
Yeah. So my only advice to all the developers: don't get into panic mode. Okay. So basically, each time or each era, or in each 5 year or something, the technology will keep on coming, going, and changing, and everything will happen, right? But if you make the technology your friend by understanding that how it will help, and be there, whoever talks with you, that okay, are you aware that this is coming, right? Then you will be always relevant. Don't ignore that. Okay, I have seen people ignoring the technology trend and thinking that whatever I am doing, I'll keep on doing after 20 years, which might not be relevant, right? I have seen people, right, C++ people, right? Then they kept on creating a stack and queue, and people moved to Java and created a stack and queue by just calling the stack queue method single,
Single
right?
command.
So you first think of the trend and go and study that, understand that how it will help you. Don't be afraid of that. Be Make it your friend and get into the depth of that. Be with the technology, not afraid from that. Okay, so if you have a horse, don't think that it will give you a kick. Think that if you ride it, you will go faster, right?
Exactly, exactly, and that's a very great piece of advice. I would rather say because I mean we often tend to be pessimistic by the nature of job or by whatever it may be, and having an optimistic view about what's coming, what's trending, would always help us propel our
Right.
own career better, faster. So that's thanks a lot for that piece of advice, Vikas. Um, So with that, I guess it's time to bid goodbye till the next podcast. So thank you everyone for tuning into Tech Talks, and thanks a lot, Vikas, for taking out time from your busy schedule and giving us so many different insights about how to think about architecture.
Thank you, Ramesh, and thank you, DevBytes team and Ashish for arranging that, and thank you everybody for attending the session and coming to DevBytes. And please keep on coming to DevBytes for similar sessions and lot of different.
Thanks a lot. Yes, thanks a lot for rooting for us. So, with this, guys, if this conversation brought you value, be sure to follow the show, share it with your team, leave us a review, tell us what you want, what you don't like, and for more such insights from the builders who are shaping the future, stay with us, keep following.
Thank